welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View, a new surrounding. New surrounding because I'm in my brother's house this morning. Yes, I'm in the kingdom and I'm wearing my niece's hat. She asked me to wear it. She said, go and wear my pink Celtic hat, Uncle Barry, just for shits and giggles. And so I thought, you better do it. Because you know what kids are like. I have only one thumbs up so far. Make sure the Donkey's bus says get the thumbs up. I'm just making sure that this stream is okay. Yeah, it's fine. The sound's fine. This microphone actually sounds better than the other microphone back home. Might just sit there using this one all the time. It's a lot easier to use as well because I can get up and walk away. But then again, a few minutes oil. Anyway, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday morning. There is no Celtic today, unfortunately, and the weather's dull and grey. God, it's great to be back. Yeah, it was a fantastic day yesterday. It was a fantastic day yesterday here in Fife. It was nice and sunny. But there's plenty of Celtic news to talk about. And there's a game today. There is a game today. There is Celtic play Manchester United legend. We'll talk about that in a second. And Chris Sutton's done a piece about Celtic having a party because Secvo are shite. Having a party because Secvo are shite. I don't think it's so much having a party because they're shite. I think it's so much having a party because they're shite, aren't they? Anyway, let's jump into the comment section. Always do. Make sure that you share the video with your friends this morning. I'm going to stay on as long as I can. Wait a minute, I need to text someone. Should have done this before I got on. Okay. There we go. And got that out of the way. So, right, let's jump into the comment section. Yes, share the video with all your mates. Get everyone on this morning. Let's talk about, hopefully, England getting scudded. Absolutely scudded in Ireland this afternoon. Oh boy, says Supervised Troops come on Ireland. Paul Baird is in the house. Daniel is in the house. Morning, Baz from a free Derry, the God country. Paul Emery's in the house. And Donkey's Bus said Ireland game on live on VidPlay on YouTube today. Gareth Williams says hail for Bedfordshire. Only one thumbs up, says the Donkey's Bus. Make sure that you do hit the thumbs up. Morning, says Paddy McGinty's goat. Alan says good morning. Mark says morning, Baz. Hail from Kelly. Kelly was like Kelly this morning because it's shite in Fife. Shite being Scottish. Fucking shite being Scottish. Fucking shite. Fucking Jesus, man. I love messy parties. What kind of messy parties? Morning Baz says, grab boys 7. Neil Kelly's in the house. For the Outer Hebrides. I'm cold down here. You imagine how much it must be up there. Tarmac's in the house, Jared's in the house, Martin's in the house. The sun will be out later, Baz. Let's hope it is. Let's hope it is. Hopefully, it's just the har from the har. Hopefully, it's just the fog from the sea, because that came in last night. Daryl Johnson's in the house. Smash thumbs up. Been a party since 2012. Not going to stop anytime soon. Yeah, it is that. Morning, Baz from sunny here in South Derry. Oh, you're making me sick now. And it made me even worse yesterday because there was folk back home sunbathing saying it's 30 degrees. How's Scotland? I was like, shite. Mary Doll's in the house, morning, Baz, Troops and all the fans. And Martin O'Neill suggested Celtic dominance could last another 15 years. Your thoughts? Yes. I've always said, when I ran the Joseph Rafferty Celtic Supporters Club, when I was the bus convener, I didn't run it. When I was the bus convener, I said when we were trooping to 9 in a row the first time, I said that the 10 will be the hard one. We'll get to the 9, no problem. We'll get to the 9, and I knew that we would get to the 9, no problem. Didn't matter what they did. I always knew that Celtic would get that 9. I said the 10 will be the issue year. No matter even if COVID didn't happen, they were going to throw the kitchen sink at us that year. They were going to do everything in their powers. They would have went almost bust again just to stop the 10. You can guarantee that. Will it happen again? Will Brendan Rodgers be here for a longer than his 3-year contract? Is the question that should be asked. That's the question that should be asked. Can the board maintain Brendan Rodgers' ambition? That's the real question that should be asked. Martin O'Neill suggesting that Celtic could be dominant for 15 years. We've been dominant for 24 years just now. I mean, it's 2024. Martin O'Neill did start the dominance effect of Celtic in Scottish football. But the real big question is, will the manager stay longer than his 3-year contract? Will the manager, and will fans accept the manager? That's an even bigger question. That's a bigger question this morning. Yeah, let's put that on in a poll. You've got to remember, a lot of people didn't want Brendan Rodgers back. Right, let me just double check this. Oh, right in with it. Right, there's the poll this morning. The poll. We're back with a poll. Talking about polls, there's a couple of polls and goals. Polls and goals for us today in the match down in Manchester. And I see that Paul Tibbs on his way down already on a bus by himself. He looks at. Why isn't he getting one of the buses that went down? Anyway, would you like Brendan Rodgers to stay more than the 2 years he has left on his contract? Well, it's not even 2 years, is it? Because it's this season and next season. It's this season and next season. Let's wait and let's just do the poll. But I think that there's exciting times ahead for Celtic when it comes to the Champions League. I think that you're going to see a different, more defensive style of play in the Champions League. We've seen it already in Scottish football, where Brendan Rodgers gets the players to double up on opponents to stop them from playing. And I think that the reason that Brendan has brought that into Celtic, I mean, Celtic never double up on players. Celtic have never needed to double up on players. It's all, it's not something, it's not a tactic that Celtic have really done over the years. But I think Brendan looked at what happened in the Champions League last year and looked at the way that we were thrown about like a rag doll in some games, you could say, but unlucky in others. But it was the space that other teams have. The space that they have, and we're not closing them down quick enough. And I think that Brendan Rodgers is saying, look, we need to double. If we need to double up on an attacking opponent in their half to slow the game down, to stop them from passing the ball with ease, it's something that we're bringing into Scottish football as well. There's no use trying to play that in a domestic sense, in a European sense. And I think this is the problem that Celtic have had also. Celtic play a certain style at home. Now, that's easy to do when you're playing Ross County and Kilmarnock and Rangers. Secvo. Do you know, it's easy when you're playing Ross County, Kilmarnock and Secvo. Do you know that it's easy playing like that. But if you want to have that little bit of success in Europe, and I don't mean winning it or anything like that, success to Celtic means winning 3 games, maybe drawn 2. Winning 3 games would you class, tell me in the comment section whilst the poll's running, would you class success in Europe this season, winning 3 games, would you class that as being a success this season in Europe? Give me a yes or no in the comment section, because I think it's important to understand what we all think success will be in Europe, because this is where it's going to come down to this season. Paul Bell would have voted no. He always does. He always does. Let's jump into some of the comments while we are waiting. Anyone think that we can do another invincible season, says Alan. Yes, I think it is possible. The way that Celtic, just the way that I've been talking about, the way we've been playing, the doubling up on teams, not letting them attack, completely dominating games. And I think that's what Brendan wants to go out and do in the domestic league. He wants to dominate the league. He wants to dominate the style of play. He wants to make sure that we play our game, but he also wants to make sure when you listen to what he says in interviews, he also wants to make sure that that same way and style of playing football transcends into European football and the European scene. Because I think over the years, we've tried to play a style of football. Even Ange did it. Ange played the same style of football that he would play in domestic football. He would play the exact same style in European football. And it doesn't work for Celtic. It doesn't. We don't have the players with the skill set, or just not as good. Let's face it. We don't have the players that can. But I think being that more defensive. Let's get back into the comment section. Yes, yes. Baz, I think 10% of your viewers must be Secvo fans. Shit, boy. It must be. The better managers out there in a couple of years. And Brendan, the board will be lazy and Scrooge like when replacing him. Were they lazy and Scrooge like when they brought back Lenny? Let's not even go that road. But I don't think so. I think that we'll know that as a club, I don't. Will they become Scrooge like again? I think that Celtic will see that the money that they've brought in from the Champions League and the money that they've had sitting in the bank in the last couple of seasons, because we've been in the Champions League, I think the board will then know that they're going to have to go out and get a certain level of manager that can help continue that journey, can help maintain us getting into the Champions League every year, and maybe taking players that are 6, 7, £8 million players and turning them into £30 million players. That's the objective of Celtic now. That I think is what that has finally happened. I think that's finally, hopefully, it's not a one season wonder. Hopefully, it's not a one season wonder, and we buy in players at a certain value, and then we'll go back to bringing in players at 1 and 2 million again. Even though we did bring in Luke at 1 million. But Kevin Cassidy says yes, yes. John says yes. Joe says yes. The success, if that's success, then no, says Sutton today. If that's success, no. So you think that winning 3 games in Europe for Celtic in the Champions League is not success? If you take it in small increments, right? We got 4 points last year. Right, you can't go from 4 points to 12 points in the Champions League just like that. I think that we'll have to be realistic, and I'm going to be realistic for the team and the players that they have, and the growth that these players have over the next 3 or 4 years. And I think that it would be a success if we could win 3 games in the Champions League. If we can win 3 games in the Champions League, we're going in the right direction, I would think. Is it success? Well, you might think it's not success. I mean, what do you then class as success? Something today? Tell me in the comments. What would you class as success, so that we can just so I can get a feel for what everyone thinks success in Europe would be. I mean, ultimately, success in Europe would be us not being in the Champions League, not getting the 50 million, but going into the Europa, where you're getting paid less money, but then getting a run to the final and then winning the Europa League final. That would be classed as success. You could say that was success. You could say Martin O'Neill getting us to the Europa Cup final in 2003 was success. But being realistic for the club and where we are in the current journey of this new European run, because I think we've had to have a reset, really. I think we've had to have a reset when it comes to European football. And by a reset, I think the type of player that the club now brings in. And we hope that Brendan Rodgers is fully in charge of bringing in players and the quality, not the quantity. The quality seems to be going in the right direction. David says it's completely different format, Baz. We'll be playing teams that are the same level. But we'll also be playing a couple of teams that are of a way higher level. We're not that great in the Europa recently either. So, I'm just taking it on Celtics. I'm not worrying about other teams out there. I'm not worrying about anybody that's out there. I'm just taking where Celtic have been over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years when it comes to European football, and where we are just now, and where we ultimately want to be. And I think, personally, if we win 3 games and draw a couple of games, that would be successful for me. But a minimum of 3 wins is a must in this year's Champions League. Completely different form. But Gerald didn't say his name points, so it's not happening. Jumped away forward there. Gerald says, if not Brendan, we need a manager to stay long term. Every successful team in the past has a long serving manager like Ferguson at Man United. Well, we can look to our own history. We can look to our own history when we had a really successful time. in the 60s into the 70s. You don't have to look far back in Celtic's history to see a manager that's been here a long time. So yeah, totally get what you're getting from that. Michael says, maybe Brendan Rodgers consider staying with Celtic if the board back him. Why would they leave if you're receiving the backing of your board? Champions League is where Brendan Rodgers will be judged. Exactly. But you also have to bring in a level of player that Brendan Rodgers can. I didn't see us getting 9 points. I mean, it'll not happen. All right. You don't think that we'll get 9 points. Get 3 wins this year and strengthen in the summer and go for 4 next season. I think, yeah, it's continuous improvement. And I think that that's all that the board, if the board were to see, I think if you sat down with any of the board members, and if you sat down with Brendan, and if you said that to him, if your target is to win 3 games in the Champions League this year, and then we bring in another player next year, because we're going to lose Rio Hatate in the summer. We'll lose Rio Hatate next summer. Rio Hatate is going to have a fantastic season this season. He wants to go out and prove that he's the best midfielder in Scotland. He wants to go out and prove that he's better than Matt O'Reilly, and we'll lose him next summer. So we're going to have a replacement in. Is the players that we've brought in this summer that direct replacement? Well, if they are the direct replacement, we need then a replacement for them. So we're going to have to bring in another midfield player this next summer. We go out and spend some more money, and then we say, right, the objective next year is to have 1 or 2 more wins. So it's just gradually building it up to get that little bit more successful every year and hopefully get into the later stages. But it's like you said, Brendan Rodgers he'll be slated if the Champions League goes the way that the Champions League went in the past few years. Brendan Rodgers will get slated, and the poll will probably turn from 92% saying Brendan Rodgers needs to stay longer than his contract to 92% saying Rodgers is shite in Europe. Get rid of him. It's 93% now. 93%. We've got 108 people have voted already. It's a quiet one this morning. It's a Saturday morning, and I've not been as regular. That doesn't sound like, does it? I've not been on the channel because, I've been here. And I was out all day with the family, which was a great day. And I got a nice surprise yesterday. Again. A lovely surprise, actually. An absolutely lovely surprise. And I'll be totally excited when it happens. Anyway, being better in Europe, based on the buns, we'll canter the league for years to come. Will we canter the years for league for years to come? Aberdeen have just sold a player for 8 million. They've invested wisely. The player that they brought in for 800 grand scored on his first game. I can see Aberdeen making a push for second place, a serious push for second place this season. Let's hope that they don't fall away and do what Aberdeen normally do. But I want to see a couple of teams in Scotland having a real push for that second spot, and hopefully leaving them as far down the league as possible, that other mob. Paddy says 4 wins at Celtic Park would do for me, although it's ominous task, even though we're favourites. The club should use the cash made by the team gaining points in the Champions League and get to Brendan. Act as a wee spur. Obviously, the cash needs to be topped up by the board, as the Champions League money won't go far. We get £50 million from the Champions League just entering it this year. £50 million. If Brendan Rodgers was to get 25 million a season to go out and bring in 2 players, say, I think that that's a statement of intent. Could you imagine 4 years down the line that instead of having a team of players that were brought in for 1 or 2 million, you've got 6 or 7 players that were brought in for 8 or 9 million? That would be a turnaround for the books. You would expect those players to do slightly better in European football due to the cost to bring them in. You would expect them to canter the league. You would then get people in saying Scotland, oh, Celtic are just buying the league. You know, well, Rangers did it during the 1990s, and I don't care what any other team in Scotland says now, because it's the fact that nobody spoke about everything that people are speaking about now with Celtic and the dominance. Nobody spoke about that, about Rangers in the 1990s. When Graham Souness has been talking about, when Rangers did this, and when Barry Ferguson talked about when Rangers did this before they died and went bust. No, none of the media were complaining about the fact that Rangers were dominant, because they weren't dominant, let's face it. They only won 1 treble in 9 chances. And for Rangers fans to then say, but Celtic should have won everything when Rangers weren't there. Well, Rangers only won one treble in 9 chances of winning absolutely everything when they were buying up the league left, right, and centre. Anyway, who cares about them? It's all about Celtic. Would you like Brendan Rodgers to stay more than the 2 years he has left on his contract? As the poll, we've had 132 votes. 93% says yes, and 7% say no. I will do this poll again after January. I think we'll do it again after January when European football has come to a conclusion. And you never know. Celtic might be still in Europe after January. That would be something special. Prize money and TV deal in Scotland is shocking. Yes, no, don't even get me started on that. The guys that run the SFA and the SPFL are ridiculous. We know we're going to lose some of our good players, so we need to be ahead of the inevitable and have young players in that are up to speed. Well, all the players that we brought in this summer, apart from one, Trusty, I think no, wait a minute. Luke was 26. So Luke and Trusty were 26. But the other players were all younger. So, yeah. Edward says, hi, Baz. Mo says, the manager can take a Scottish team and do well in the Champions League. No manager can take a Scottish team and do well in the Champions League, says Mo. Why not? Why not? I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about in say Celtic go down this route of bringing in between £6 and £9 million players over the next 3 seasons. Would you not expect us to do better in Champions League? Paul says, Baz, do you think the board will ban the Green Brigade during European fixtures? No, not yet. They've not done anything yet to upset the board. They've not done anything yet to upset the board. So I think this will be. It does. You don't. They don't generally get banned 2 seasons in a row from Celtic. When you look back at the history of nearly 20 years, it's 18 years. 18 years of the Green Brigade. 18 years of the Green Brigade. When you look back the illustrious history, the Green Brigade are old. The Green Brigade are older than Secvo. The Green Brigade are older than Secvo. But no, I don't think that they will get a ban this year in European games. Not the lengthy ban that they got last year, because they haven't done anything as yet to upset the board. And I think that the board are in a feel-good factor right now. Having pumped out that money in the last minute of the transfer window, they really had to do it really to appease the fans. Because if we never spent the money and we brought in the players that we did on the last day of the transfer window, I think that there would have been the hilarity of the Rangers game would have faded quickly. I think. And talking about players doing well, I'm going to talk about the one and only Arne Engels because there's some good news coming about him after his game for his country. Celtic need a new derby because this one is rubbish. A new derby? We've got a new derby. It's called the Glasgow Derby. We used to have the Old Firm Derby, but that died. We've now got the Glasgow Derby. They're just not that very good. Rio is better than Matty for 6 games a season. I'm not a fan of the occasional genius, says Sutton today. Rio is better than Matty for 6 games a season. Well, Rio has said in the media that he's going to perform better. The Celtic are going to see the best of him this season. Brendan Rodgers said at the beginning of the season also that he expects to see the best of Rio Hatate this season. So let's just wait and see what happens. Edward says, "How Baz winning 4 home games is success for me. We're never going to win 4 home games. I would put that one out there right now. I don't think that it would be. I don't think that we're in that place just yet to win 4 home games. Can the fans make it an atmosphere which puts pressure on the clubs when they're at Celtic Park? Yes, but I think you've got to have a lot of going for you. And maybe next year could be the year that they win 4 home games, but I don't think this year we're there just yet. I just don't think they were there just yet. Take us a few years to be able to compete in Europe, but Brendan is putting us in the right place. I think so as well. And that's why I'm saying, I mean, competing in Europe means different things to different people. Competing in Europe, for some people, is getting to the later stages of the Champions League. It's never going to happen. It can happen, but you have to have a group of players that have been together for a while that fight for everything. You have to have a manager that is a tactical genius that can change tactics during the game and that can see things that we don't see before it happens, and make changes. And is Brendan Rodgers that type of manager? I mean, is he up there with the Peps of the world? Is he up there with Pep Guardiola? I'm not too sure. Kieran says, sound like there, Baz, you're just told that you're going to. Yes. I'm speaking about the points gained in the group stages, Baz, with the top up by the board. Yeah, you could do that. What do you get? 3 million, a million for a goal, was it? A couple of million for a point. That's just thrown me. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Pat says one of the best run clubs in Britain, but still moaning about the board. Be happy. I'm not moaning about the board. I've not moaning about the board once today. Mark says, I can see us going unbeaten domestically this season with the current squad. Hopefully that spurs us on to play better in Europe. Well, it didn't really spur us on to play that better in Europe under Brendan the first time round when we were completely dominant in Scottish football. I think that the changes, like I said, if you listen to what Brendan says, the small changes that he's making to the way that we play, hopefully it can spur us on. David says, getting the Aqua down 24 is the way to go. Full of quality, no hangers on. Remember, I didn't give him anything last season. He was sold to buy. Jacqueline says it's fantastic achievement. They said about the new window transfers. Trust the process. Get behind the boys and the manager and Celtic family. What we are. Always keep the faith. I always keep the faith, but you've got to think about going forward. It's all nice and fine and being dominant in Scottish football. We've been dominant in Scottish football for years now, and I think the journey to the nine a few years ago was brilliant. And to go to games then, it was the best times. From when Lennon came in and started it, from even when Ronnie Dyler was manager, and I know a lot of people didn't like Ronnie as a manager and they didn't like his style of football, but when you went to games then, it was brilliant. Away games were fantastic. Some of the best years of my life were the away games under Ronnie, both away and in Europe for the banter. Maybe not the football scores. Oh, Malmo, Jesus. Anyway, I think that, yeah, it's all about going forward. Jacqueline, Graham Johnson says, Baz, I can't find out how to pay my membership, bro. Can you post a link? There we go. I've just posted the link. We should be opening. We should be opening the window with Engels and Trusty. I understand where you're coming from with that, Liam. And I said it at the beginning of the window. You all remember my rant back in early July, and I was told right at the beginning of July, and I was told, calm down, we've got the whole the whole window to go. That'll happen. And I said, it'll happen, all right. It'll happen on the last day. And I was right. The board fucked about. But they got the players in, and they got a level of player in that I'm happy with. I am happy with. Good morning, Baz. Just start from the beginning. No, thanks. I'm going to jump to the board. I won't change my mind in January, Baz. He still wants Paul. Paul still wants Brendan. No, I'm not talking about you, Paul. I'm talking about the wider Celtic support. I'm talking about if European football doesn't go the way that we expect it or want it to go, and if we have a terrible campaign again, which could happen, if we have a terrible campaign, it would be interesting to come back to that vote, which is sitting 186 people that voted. 94% say yes. As it stands just now, they want Brendan to stay longer than the 2 years. Well, it's a year and whatever's left of this season. So it's this season and next season. They want him to stay longer than the 2 seasons that he has left on his contract. 6% says no. It's probably Peter Lawwell, and I'm sure Paul Baird's got a number to Peter Lawwell. Right, Baird, vote no. Get your mates to vote no. Joking, Paul, joking. Bernardo is going to be massive for us this season. I think he'll be the next player that will sell for big money. Well, he'll have to be sold for really big money because we bought him for 3 million, 3.5 million, and they've got a 20% sell-on clause. Another one with a 20% sell-on clause. We seem to be getting done for a lot of 20% sell-on clauses just now to get players in on the cheap. Is that cheap? In Celtic terms, not really now. I think we're past it now, Baz. I'm saying we need 10 million players plus all over the park. I think we're past that now, Baz. I'm saying we need 10 million players all over the park. I think over the next couple of years, don't be too surprised if we don't go under 5 million for bringing in players. Don't be too surprised if we don't go under 5 million for players. Paul D says, I would like Rodgers to get a new 4-year deal, take him to the Holy Grail, and stay on the road. If we don't get 10 serious questions need to be asked. 18 years of the Green Brigade, holy moly, that blows my mind. I remember when there were a wee row of guys that stood at the back and sang for 90 minutes. Yes, Liam, I do remember that. The wee row of guys that stood up the back of 111. Fantastic days. And when I speak to some guys, I know that there's a mate of mine who's away back to Australia. He is from Belfast and he was in the Green Brigade, and he said that the section isn't as good as what it used to be because he was been at a few games this season. And he says, Baz, it's not as good as it used to be. It was better up at one. It was better when it was a smaller section up the back. It's changed a lot because I said to him, I was like, remember the day when there was no phones in the section? Remember the day when if you've got your phone out, you would get shouted at. No phones in the section. Now, everybody and their horse has got their phones out, haven't they? It's madness. I did warn them, and I told a guy years ago about YouTube for the Green Brigade. I was like, listen, said that's where you need to be going. Anyway, I'm in North Curve 111. Some buzz the Green Brigade are right. Alan, where are you in 111? That's where my seats used to be. Still got seats in 111. My brother's 2 seats. The SPFL are a handicap to Celtic. We need. Oh, I just lost that. And we need to be better competition week in, week out. How do we manage this? Play more friendlies to sharpen up the boys. Secvo are no sparring partner for the Euro prep, says something today. I look at this. I look at the Spanish leagues and other leagues around the world that are 18 teams. And believe it or not, I think a bigger league makes teams stronger. And you're going to say, well, I don't want to be playing Falkirk. That doesn't make us stronger. The reason that the clubs in Scotland are weaker is because they sold out to Sky. They sold out to Sky for 4 Glasgow derbies. Sky wanted 4 Glasgow derbies a year and they couldn't change that. You'll not get the same deal. You'll not get the same money if there's not 4 Glasgow derbies. So what then happens is all the money goes to the top end of the table. And there's teams that are then fighting around happy just being in mid-table. They know that they're not going to get relegated, really, and they know that they're not going to be top 3, but they're happy just being in between, trying to get into that 6th position every season. I think making the league bigger, whether you think that playing Falkirk on a Wednesday night isn't going to make us better, playing Dunfermline on a Friday night, playing, I don't know, Rafe Rovers on a Saturday isn't going to make us stronger. But the league was stronger, believe it or not, when we had those teams in it years ago. The league was stronger. And I think it's the current format that needs to change. It's not the teams that we're playing. The league needs to be made bigger. More money then needs to be brought in to make these teams more competitive. And that's it. It's finances. It's finances whether you like it or not. Celtic have ran the club perfectly. we can all say that the board have held back on many a time, but from a financial perspective, the club has done well. They've got clubs like Rafe Rovers who are putting in massive investment at their level to try and get into the SPFL because they know that the money they can get into the SPFL can save them for years. Why not make the league a little bit bigger, and why not just say to Sky, "Fuck off," and get a different TV deal in? And I think that it would make it better. I think playing each other 4 times is a format that fans are fed up of. I mean, it's okay beating them 4 times a season, and it's and then you're getting Sky saying, "When will this dominance end? Oh, Celtic just can't seem to lose. Oh, this is shite." Fucking you caused the problem. You're the main cause of the issues. You know what I mean? You're the main cause of the problem because you want 4 Glasgow derbies. So and then you've got other TV companies trying to come in and pick up some games. I think that we need to make the league ultimately bigger. We need to get. I've said this many a time. We need to get rid of the split. We keep the playoffs because that's a fantastic end to the season for people down at the bottom. But yeah, we need to make the league bigger. So I don't know something today. What do you think of that? Selling points for us. What are the selling points for us? I think that we're in a place to beat Leipzig, Bratislava, Young Boys, Bruges at home. Leipzig. Do you think you're going to beat the Germans at home? Did you not watch the game? There was a game that they stopped. They stopped a pretty good team in Germany. Was it last week? I think. I'm not too sure about beating Leipzig, and they're a top team. Top team. The Green Brigade are older than Secvo. That was a hilarious point. But yes, Gerald, that's true. The Green Brigade are older than Secvo. What the hell? Of course, Brendan is that type of manager. That's exactly the type of manager Brendan is. Tactically tweaks his special, is his speciality, is to do with then world football. But he's also of an age that where managers tend to get a bit. Hmm. Lackadaisical? I don't know, but I don't think Brendan is. Anyway, Baz, we'll get 5 wins this season, and I'm saying 4 home wins. I don't see I just can't see us getting the 4 home wins. 4 home wins, and I can see us winning away game 2, says Paul. The new format should be right up Celtic Street. Get to the knockout stages. New model buying 10 million players. Yep. Will we get to that next stage this season? Is it a step too far in this first season? That's all I'm asking. I hope we do it, but sometimes when you're sitting at this side, you've got to ask questions that get you guys thinking and just get that interaction going because that's what the channel is. When Celtic fans use Brendan Rodgers' record in Europe is terrible. I knew that one was coming. I knew that one was coming from Paul. Let's jump down. I'm sorry if I've missed some of the comments. Simon Allen says, "Hey, well, Paul Beard says that." I love the way that Brendan looks at our league games and block games. He's the man that will take us on a good run this year in the SPFL and Europe. Yes, and I think it's something that they looked at before when Brendan was here. He did speak about it before, and the reason that they do that, you've got to remember that the reason that they do that is because if you look at the whole season and think, right, we want to win the season, well, that's fine, but you've got everything else to go in before. And if you break it down into small little sections, it's like say Monday. Say you walk into your job tomorrow and Monday, and it's like, well, I want to achieve this by the end of the week. Say your ultimate goal is to get promotion by the end of the next year, but this week it's like, well, I'm going to achieve this at work. And that's the way that Brendan does it. He says, like, if we achieve this, if we win this game, if we win this game, if we win these 4 games, that's success. That's success. And that success gets into the mindset of the players. It's like, that's been a successful time. Right? They see that as a success. So that's where you start getting the winning mentality coming from. And Brendan Rodgers is right deep into this winning mentality, the mindset, getting into the players, getting to know them and making sure that they are trying to achieve their own personal little goals. Because they'll have their own personal little goals. Say Kyogo wants to score 30 goals this season. So the board, Brendan and the boys will sit down with them. It's like, right, we'll split the 30 goals over the season. And then when you know how many goals you need to score in each little section. If you score a hat trick in one game, you're quids in. You're way ahead. But you've still got your target. It's trying to do each little bit. And if he does score the odd hat trick now and again, and he gets away ahead of his target, that just pushes him on even further to try and achieve these long-term goals with 25 goals before the end of the season. So then anything over that is fucking buzzing, isn't he? He's buzzing. And that's the real reason Brendan does it. It's all about getting into the mindset of the players. And hopefully that'll kick on and into the Champions League. Best day of the year's life was... Oh, I've just lost that one. Is that stone wallpaper behind you? Yes, it is. I'm in my brother's house. Stone wallpaper. Stephen Johnston's in the house. Did it that side of the time, so get it on. Right, let me see how many people have voted. 229 people have voted. There's been over 1,148 people on the live this morning. It is a Saturday morning. There's no football concerning Celtic, but the viewer duration's up also. There's currently 327 on the live with 229 votes. 95%, going to keep this going as long as we can. 95% want Brendan Rodgers to stay here longer than the 2 years that he has left on his contract. 5% said no. 5% saying no. Away win in Europe would be nice this year, says who really cares? Yes. And I think an away win, that's why I'm thinking if we can get, say we got, if we can get 3 home wins, if we can get 3 wins in Europe, if we can get 2 home wins and an away win in Europe, would that be classed as success? My target's three wins. If we can get 3 wins this season, I'll be happy. I'll be over the moon. Absolutely over the moon. James, get off your live and come and help me set up. You need to come and pick me up then, because Kev's not here. Kev's working. So you need to come and get me. I thought you wanted to set up till later on anyway. But no, come and get me. That's my brother, who has his fight night tonight. My brother runs a Thai boxing gym. And every year he has a massive fight night. And tonight is massive fight nights. And that's the reason that I'm home. That's the reason we're home for the big fight night. So yeah, sure, actually, if you look back, the very first ever videos that were put up on that channel, it's him fighting a long, long time ago. Long time ago. When he was thin and able to fight. Morning, Baz. Do you think that we'll get 10 points from the group? Maybe. 3 wins. I don't think that we're going to get 3 wins at home. I'm being honest. I don't think that we'll. I think our target should be 3 wins in the group. If we can get 3 wins in the group, I think it'll be success. And if we can get a draw, then there you go. You never know. I agree, Brown, but I think he showed with Leicester and his last season he's learned. I'm optimistic, says Ian. Paddy says best year of his life when my wee girl was born. My first child, 50 years old. And 20, if you had your first born at 50-year-old, Jesus, man, the heck? Your missus must have been way younger than you. Bugger that. 63 subs to go, yes. Looks like we're going to hit it tomorrow. We're at 18,825 subs. So I'll do a live tomorrow morning. See what state I'm in. We'll do a live tomorrow morning. I may possibly be hungover. I may be not, because I'm not going to drink much tonight. I don't want to be hungover all day and then fly on Monday. But yeah, we'll do a live tomorrow morning, and hopefully that'll be the day. That'll be the day that we hit 1888 subscribers. I need to try and get it on the telly. We need to try and get the camera and have it on the telly, the number on the telly, so we could see it. I could see it on the screen. But anyway, we digress. Let's get into some Celtic news. We've been talking, haven't even talked. At least 10 points as a failure in Europe, says Paul Baird. How's 10 points for Celtic a failure after the seasons that we've had? It's all about continuous improvement, Paul. You can't go from being third or fourth in Europe in the old format to all of a sudden thinking that we're going to be this fantastic team that's going to get more than 10 points. We have to be realistic, surely. We have to be realistic. I mean, that's my personal perspective. I'm being realistic about it, and I think 10 points would be a successful season for Celtic this year. From where we've came from, you have to take it in text of where we've came from and where we want to be in 2 years' time. So yeah, but you think that 10 points, at least 10 points, or it's a failure in Europe. Brentwater says, is that the equivalent of the Cup Winners' Cup, Baz? Was that the equivalent of the Cup Winners' Cup? What behind me? Don't know. Mick Jagger had a kid when he was 74, but he's a randy old man that dates women like quarter his age. Chat on this gets me absolutely cracked up. Anyway, let's talk about Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton, breaking news. Chris Sutton has been saying that Celtic making big money signings and taking apart the hapless Rangers brought a great joy to a lot of Celtic supporters. In a strange way, it's helped heap pressure onto Brendan Rodgers and his team for the Champions League. Exactly, which is what people have been talking about. I've said all along, says Chris Sutton, that the barometer, it's a big barometer season. He plays on the left, he plays on the right. That is my that makes the hands look shite. Sorry, this big barometer just fucking got me. Both on and off the park, Celtic have been strengthened, but Chris Sutton's gut feeling. His gut feeling. Rodgers didn't have the right setup for the group stages last year. He didn't have enough quality and depth in his disposal, and he was hampered by injury last season, which he was. Although Matt Riley has gone, it's clear that he's far happier with the unit that he has now going into this term's Champions League. Of course, it was meaningful last term, but winning the title through a tricky first campaign on the back of coming in after the great legend of a manager that was here for 2 years. And can you call him a legend? Can you call him a legend? Is Ange a legend? We'll ask that in another vote. But coming in after that, the back of Ange winning the treble, it's always hard to come in and win a treble in your first season. Brendan Rodgers knows all about that. Martin O'Neill knows all about that. But the core of the players, Chris Sutton says, is better than it was 12 months ago. That was evident the way that they swatted, bitch slapped Rangers aside. Know your place. Watching the game against Philip Clementine's side, it's obviously the Rangers are a mess. Whenever I take the outcome of Glasgow derbies for granted, I've been involved in enough to know that anything can happen. Exactly, Chris. You know that anything can happen when you won 6-2 against the old Rangers. Absolutely fantastic day that was as well. But he made his way to the match last weekend and he sensed a lack of edge amongst the punters. A lack of edge. I think that the lack of edge from the punters comes from the no away fans. It's easy going into these games when there is no away fans. You don't have that nastiness at the stadium. So I understand what Chris is saying. You know, there's not that edge from the fans. And it is because of that. Listen, when you had 7,500 of them singing Simply the Best and Tina Turner and then Celtic adding their bit on, it added to the atmosphere. That's gone, the atmosphere. And with the atmosphere is gone, Celtic fans know that they're in a good position, that it should be an easy day in the office. But if you've got their fans there, getting on top of them, you know, it does lose that. Does that. Ange Hand is the best football we've ever seen, I think. For sure, Ange has had the best football we've ever seen, I think, but as well. First, really? Jai Lin? You obviously can't remember Tommy Burns' team. I think Tommy Burns' team played some fantastic football. Just saying. People said that about Tommy Burns. You know, we hadn't seen football the Tommy Burns way forever, really, for a long time at Celtic. But anyway, he's in the past. He is in the past. Kieran says, morning, Tim's. It's about beating the Huns. Beating the Huns is standard now. We need to work on moving forward in the Champions League. It won't happen immediately, but to see gradual improvement. Exactly. Keep the zombies out of Celtic Park, says Paul Beard. For the good of the game, I think that we need to get away fans back to give us that. Listen, Paul, we've all been there. We've been at Ibrox when you beat them, and there's absolutely nothing better when you're standing with seven. Listen, I can remember ticker tape Sunday. I can remember the day that the Green Brigade, and there was no wind at Ibrox at all. There was no wind. And the Green Brigade let off a green, white, and yellow flare. Just one. And the smoke just went up in straight lines, 3 straight lines up into the sky. And it was fucking brilliant. The atmosphere for the Celtic fans then gets a ramp right up. The day with ticker date Sunday, you had the Green Brigade for weeks getting together little packets of ticker tape paper, getting volunteers to do it, and then they're handing it out to every single fan that goes into the ground. And then before the game kicks off, everyone throws it onto the pitch. It's the best days ever. You can't say that having no away fans and doing that in there and owning them in their own stadium. And Big Roy Aitken used to stay. Big Roy Aitken used to say, he told my dad this. He says, I don't know the words of the sash. He says, because the time they get to the first line, we've usually scored. We've usually scored and it stops them singing. That was Troy Aitken told my dad that one many, many moons ago. So you can't say that the whole away fans is not good for the game. I understand that, yeah, keep them out, but I think that we need to get back to a situation where we do have some of their fans in Celtic Park. Listen, when they trash the place and things like that, Celtic need to come down and hard on it. The time that they trashed the toilets, and fucking absolutely wrecked the place at the back of Celtic Park. You know, there's no difference. Demolition Derby was the virgin of all derbies. What a way to start off exactly something today. You know, it was like Chris Sutton and Henrik Larsson had a fantastic game that day. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, keeping your squad intact and building long term is the way to trump our current model. Where's the key to how they played, Ian? Yeah, is that. Gareth says, I know and I love Brendan Rodgers to extend his contract, but to stay, I think we need to ask the question again. After the 3rd season, he does have a history of going stale. He has a history of going stale. The way that Brendan Rodgers has changed, and that he's older now and he's calmer. He has said this in interviews. You've got to look at all the there's little points in interviews that Brendan's done over the last 3 months that he's changing the way that Celtic have played. He's changing the way that his idea of football should be played. And he's a lot calmer and takes in. I think as an older manager, Brendan Rodgers might come to the fruition. The real Brendan Rodgers might stand up. You know, you never know. You never know. Let me see what the vote is at. We're at 278. I want to get up to at least 300. There's 350 people on the live. There's been 1,415 on this morning, which is okay, considering I've not been consistent with the videos due to travelling. Would you like Brendan Rodgers to stay more than 2 years that he has left on his contract? 96% say yes. 4% say no. That's interesting. So the more fans that we're getting on, the percentage is going down. The percentage is going down. All right, let's get back to. We've still got to talk about the Manchester United Celtic Legends game today. But we'll finish off with Chris Sutton. He says the hierarchy have somehow managed to get the supporters buzzing with their window and still make a profit this summer. Says so much for the running in the club. Yes, the Celtic hierarchy have somehow managed. Chris Sutton's right. They somehow managed to get the supporters buzzing after the window. And let's face it, there was a lot of us weren't buzzing. With the lead up to the end of the window. We thought we should have got our business done earlier. So with the pieces in place, Brendan Rodgers and his players now need to deliver. No one is silly enough to suggest that there are any easy games in the Elite Champions League. Quite simply, there's no such thing. But anyone could argue with the draw has been kind to Celtic. The draw has been kind to Celtic. The draw was kind to Celtic last season. And last season, I got overly excited at the draw. I thought it was one of the easiest draws that we've had in the old format ever. And we didn't manage to do anything of any significance, really. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers has offered a winnable opportunity, none more than the opening fixture against Slovan Bratislava at home. The perfect game. It's a huge game, but it could also be triumph or disaster, says Chris Sutton. Get the job done, and you're off and running. The approach of the next 7 games will be real optimism and excitement. Failure to win that first game, and straight away, the matches that follow will be immediately against last season's Champions League runners-up, Borussia Dortmund, and Europa League winners. Yeah. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Celtic need to get it right. It's going to be fascinating to see how Rodgers goes about it in the months ahead, says Chris Sutton. And he's got a squad virtually that can change an entire team from domestic weekends to European football if he needs be. And that is what is going to bring you around about some success. And there is a new member. Oh, there's a new member. Where did that member go? Jacqueline is a new member of the One Celtic Fans View. Sorry, I missed that out. I just seen it flash up on my screen. Welcome to the channel. Let's go back into the live chat. I missed that one. Sorry. Manchester United versus Celtic. Yes, let's talk about that now because we've been going on for 55 minutes and I was meant to talk about that about 50 minutes ago. Manchester United legends play Celtic legends. Are these players legends, some of them? Yeah. Yeah, they are, aren't they? It's quite a legends team, actually, when you look at it. The goalkeepers are Arthur Borage and Lucas Zaluska. Oh, dear. Charlie Mulgrew, Darren D, Effie Ambrose, Kelvin Wilson. Is Kelvin Wilson a legend? Is Kelvin Wilson a real Champions Celtic legend? I need 7 votes to get to the 300. 6 votes to get to the 300, and then we're going to close the poll down. And we'll see where YouTube loses. It's 1% today again. The copper tried it back. I need 4 votes, 4 people to vote, and then we'll close this poll down. Let me jump back to that. Never going to vote. 3 votes. Somebody? Just anyone? Maybe 2 votes. It's like Rangers waiting on a win and like winning the league, isn't it? Nearly there. I need 2 people to vote. Hey, that's it. End the poll. Quick, end it. It's on 300. We'll see when we lose the percent. End the poll. Fucking 301 for sake. The poll. That managed to lose 1%. YouTube, you absolutely rockets. That was 302 votes, and 95% want Brendan Rodgers to stay after his current contract. We will do that poll again after the Champions League, because that is where the barometer, as you say, that's where the barometer is going to say. He plays on the left, he plays on the right. Tyson Maidal makes the hands look shy. That is the big barometer. Conversation is healthy. Conversation is healthy, and that's what this channel is all about. Right, let's get back to the Manchester United Celtic game this afternoon. I think it's on Celtic TV. I'll probably not get to see it because I'll need to go and help my brother set up for tonight. Defenders, Charlie Mulgrew, Darren O'Dea, Effie Ambrose, Kelvin Wilson, Mikael Lustig, and Stephen McManus. It's basically just half the Celtic's current staff, isn't it? Midfielders, Barry Robson, Joe Ledley, Johnny Hayes, Simon Donnelly, Stilian Petrov, and the forwards, Gary Hooper. Gary Hooper, the man who left Celtic to go down to England because he wanted to be in the England team. And his career disappeared down the toilet. Big Samaras and the one and only Van Venegoor of Hesselhank. Oh, that's a legend. Oh, I remember singing the Hesselhank song. Oh, man. God, that goes back a long way, that team, doesn't it? Well, not really. It goes back to just after the Martin O'Neill era, really. Interesting team. Interesting team. Are you going to be watching that today? Willow Flood's not on that list because Willow Flood is not a legend. In that case, we can't compare with Desmond says, safe trip to Manchester. Pat Anderson, CSC from Castle Milk. I'm 50 years old and I think that Martin O'Neill's team was the best I've ever seen in my time. We got robbed. My team won the Champions League the year after the cup defeat in Seville. Was Martin O'Neill's team, and it's a different era. It was a different era. If here's a question for you then, Gerald. If Tommy Burns had the money at his disposal that Martin O'Neill had, would there have been a different outcome? you've got to remember there was a lot of players that Celtic tried to get under Tommy Burns that ended up going down to England. Fantastic players. David Ginola, for one, went to Newcastle rather than Celtic. And just because of money, because we couldn't afford to pay the players. Tommy Burns' team played some fantastic football. The amount of last-minute goals that Tommy Burns' team could score, they were experts at scoring, at winning last minute. Last minute, it was unbelievable time. I think he played some fantastic football, and he was unlucky. He was unlucky at a time. Pink's definitely the colour. Yeah, it was my niece asked me to wear it. She's like, going to wear my hat this morning, Uncle Baz. Celtic Park, Martin had a fortress, European terms, feared and loved coming here. Martin O'Neill wouldn't have got anything for Fergus either. Exactly. But if Tommy Burns was to have had the money that Martin O'Neill had, I think that we would have been looking at a completely different scenario. I don't think that they would have ever got to the 10, for starters. Fergus McCann was prudent in the way that he ran the business. He invested his $6 million, and he said that he was going to sell his shares in 5 years. He had a business plan. He came in with a plan. He said, "I'm coming in here, and my exit strategy is here. I'll build the stadium. I'll win us the league. I'll get us back into the top flight. I'll get us back doing all the good stuff." And he just never got there with Tommy Burns. Hence the reason that Tommy Burns was told to leave by the back door, and Tommy Burns said, "I am never leaving this ground by the back door," and walked out the front. Rest in peace, Tommy Burns. Underappreciated when Lennon had us in the Champions League. You felt there was a chance you could beat anyone. Yeah, Lennon was probably underappreciated. I don't think Lennon was underappreciated then, because you think about what Neil Lennon was going through at the time then. Bullets getting sent to his home, death threats and everything else, all the nonsense. And the Scottish media response, he brings it on himself. Anyway, that's Scotland for you. It's Scotland today. Anyway, we've been on for 1 hour and 1 minute this morning, a bit longer than normal for a Saturday morning. Just shows you how long I could be on when the missus is sitting right next to me, giving me evil eyes. Anyway, Stephen Johnson, big shout out to Stephen Johnson. Baz and all the Tims around the world, good morning. Jill says the team would have been unreal if we had had the money to spend and done an amazing job in Europe. We would have done the 10. God bless Fergus for helping the club. No buts and ifs. Maybe O'Neill's team was the best since the Lisbon Lions. For getting to Europa, yes. Cup final, yes, Michael. But I'm saying if Celtic under Tommy Burns was given the same kind of money, bringing in the three amigos was massive for Celtic. And that was the beginning of what the future Celtic would look like. And Tommy Burns was at the forefront of that. You have to remember that. Tommy Burns was at the forefront of bringing in the three amigos. And he had a vision for Celtic. And that vision, when he came back and under Strachan, was absolutely fantastic. Tommy Burns would have been unreal. Yeah, he would have. Brendan's got a lot worse than consulting with both Lenny and Strachan in regards to tactics for the Champions League. I think Brendan plays a completely different type of football now than even what those managers did then. Football has evolved as a game. Could a Neil Lennon's team from his first time round? Well, we've seen it in the second time round. They couldn't break down the low block when people sit back and defend. Football's changed since then. It's changed since Martin O'Neill was at Celtic. Teams didn't sit back and defend on the 18-yard box. There wasn't 5 in defence when Martin O'Neill was here. So football's changed. So we can all talk about the way that managers and how successful we are, but you have to remember as well that football has evolved since then, and football as a game has completely changed. The same tactics aren't used as what they were back then. Unfortunately, it needs to be more pragmatic this time, says Ben. Thumbs up, missing this morning, Baz. Those on mine. Philip McDonald, morning, Baz, from Barheld is still here too. Yeah, it's fucking miserable here. Crap. Anyway, 2 sleeps to go, as they say. Right. I'm going to just see if there's any more last. I was going to talk about Arnie Engels. We haven't even talked about Arnie Engels this morning. He made his international debut for Belgium. And we'll just leave it at that. We need something to talk about. I don't think I'll not be doing it. I usually do a live at final whistle, but there would be no final whistle today at 4:45 Celtic Park time, and then I will be in my brother's fight night, getting ready for that. I think the first fight is at 6 o'clock, and I'm buzzing for that. Morning from Glenrothes, says Ali boy. How we going, Baz? It's great. Fucking shite weather here, isn't it? And a big shout. I've left it at my daughter's house actually. John, a big shout out to John, um, who is one of the subscribers that usually comes. Um, and he's also my brother's boss. Yesterday, he gave me an armband from that was Martin O'Neill's armband. No, fucking Neil Lennon's. Talking about Martin O'Neill, it was Neil Lennon's armband in 2003, and he got it from Rab Douglas. He won it at a charity night, and Rab Douglas donated it. So you can't get more authentic than that. And I was totally taken aback when he said, "I want you to have this, and I want you to put it up so when you're doing your YouTube live, you can see the captain's armband, and it's got Lenny's signature on it." And it was amazing. It was amazing. And thank you, John. Yes, thank you for that. And when I get home, I'm not going to take it home in that case that it's in because it's got the broken glass, and I don't think the airport will be too keen me taking broken glass through. Because I've not got a case, I've just got a carry-on bag. But anyway, thank you for that. Give us a live for your brother's fight night. Actually, can you still see the original? Let me just go into the channel. Those are the original videos. Your channel. They should still be live. Videos. Oldest. Yeah. 14 years ago. 14 years ago. Let me just get. Right. If you want to watch something after this, go watch this. This was my brother fighting 14 years ago. I think it must have been more than, yeah, it was about 14 years ago. Anyway, go and watch that. 30 million pure profit. It was pure greed, in my opinion. Did the Bunnet. The Bunnet did everything promised. Yeah, he did. He did everything promised, and he was a businessman. And he sold the club for massive profit. I've not got an issue with that. I've not got an issue at all. Not at all. He did what he'd come in. He did what it said on the tin. He come in and he said, "I'm going to get Celtic winning the league. I'm going to build a magnificent stadium on this ground." You've got to remember at the time, Baz, do you remember Preston Band's bus? A long time ago, the Preston Band's bus. David Hislop's just on. Going to European records, I'd take. Going by I'd take it. Take what? Anyway, right. I'll have a look, Baz. Yeah, have a look at that video that I've just posted. I'll post that again. That was my brother fighting 14 years ago when he was a lot slimmer. He now owns the gym that he as a fighter fought. No, it's not even. He owns his own gym now, and he's having a fight night tonight. Anyway, with 1,730 viewers on the live so far, average viewing time is up. 330 current viewers. I'd like to say a big shout out to Stephen Johnson, hail from Cowdenbeath. I love to see Stephen on the on our travels hours. Yep, and a big shout out to Jacqueline, who became a member of the One Celtic Fans View today. And on that note, have a fantastic day. We're sitting on 18,825. Hopefully, they're live tomorrow morning. Might get us over there. It might be Monday. I can't even be Monday evening because I'm flying. So there'll be no live Monday night. There will be no live on Monday night because I'm due to me being 37,000 feet in the air. It's unfortunate, but shit happens. Anyway, have a